Hello, 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 and welcome to Live Dreams. Tonight
Hello.
I have Lisa with me. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Good. Yes. It looks like we have some connection issues tonight, so we'll try to go through. And if it gets too bad, then we'll have to try again another time. But right now, it looks like the internet is moving at about the speed of one dribble.
Mine is doing good right now, but
Can you all hear me?
yes, we hear you. Good evening.
Hi, Stacy. Hello from Finland.
Wow.
All right. Hello from Michigan. Finland, Michigan, Alabama. Wow, we got people calling in from all over. Northeast
Yeah.
Ohio. All right. Hi, Christine. Hey, Holly. Hey, Sue. Good to see ya. Pam from Indiana. Lisa from Mississippi. That would
be me.
in Indiana. All right. Good to see all of you. All right. Well, let's get started. If you have a short dream tonight, like you can fit in one. All right. Voting in Colorado, New Jersey, Northern Virginia. All right.
Hey,
Good
Shelley.
deal. People in from all over tonight. If you have a short dream that you can fit in one little paragraph in the comments, go ahead and do that, and we'll try to read that tonight. And we're going to get ready for our first dream here. A longtime favorite. Her and her husband Jim have been with us for years. Let's say hi to Sue. Hey, Sue, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hey, Sue. I don't see her yet.
Yeah.
There she is.
Good. How are you?
Hey, Sue.
All right. Can you hear me,
Sue, how are you?
Good. We're good. How are you? Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So this is a dream that my son Evan had.
Go ahead.
He lives here in Michigan, but he's working in Arizona, so he couldn't call it in. He had it on October 14th while he was in Arizona. And so this is what he says. I'm at my childhood home, which is our home that we live in right now still. And there's a limo outside. I need to get into. Joe Biden is the driver. Trump is in the back seat. I'm rushing to get out of the house. I get in the back of the limo with Trump. Biden makes a quick movement and partially drives onto the grass. I reach into my sweatshirt pocket and find an old wallet is in there. I forgot to grab my current wallet because I was in a rush. The wallet has a blue rolled up ball of tape and cash. The radio is on, and the guy speaking mentions extraterrestrials. I look at Trump and gesture with my head, meaning pay attention. And Evan kind of does those little nods when he says like hi to people. That's it. We lost John.
Oh, okay. Well, he'll hopefully get back on. I noticed his was lagging a little bit. So
I know.
Yeah. Well, and it was always nice to have him to go first.
Yeah.
So your son is working in Arizona, so he's a long way from home, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let me think about this a minute. He was in his childhood home, which is where y'all are currently living.
Right.
There was a
He
limo.
doesn't live in this home anymore. He has
Right.
his own apartment, but just to give you context, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I kind of get that because I have a lot of dreams about my childhood home. A lot. So, and it's always seems to be something related to something in the past. But so there was a limo outside, and let's see, he needed to get there real fast. Is that what you said? I was trying to write everything down, and
Yeah, well, he was just in a rush.
he was in a rush.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because he was in a rush, he forgot to grab his new wallet.
Mm-hmm. Did he say why he was in a rush?
No.
Okay.
I'm just guessing since there was a limo there, he must have been having to, some kind of appointment they were getting to or something. Who knows?
Yeah. So he's rushing, trying to hurry up and get in the limo. He's in his at his old childhood home. He has his old wallet, not his new one, but it ends up having a lot of cash because it's got a rolled up thing with cash, right?
It was a rolled up blue ball of tape.
Oh, blue ball of tape.
Yeah, and cash.
Tape and cash. Okay. Tape, needing something to hold it together. You use tape to hold things together. But Biden was actually driving the limo. And then
he was. Mm-hmm.
And he made a quick move. Is that what you said? He made a quick move?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A quick movement. So like he moved the
vehicle.
Vehicle quickly. Yeah, the limo.
And then the guy on the radio, an extraterrestrial, and then he made a notion to Trump to pay attention.
Right. He like gestured with his head like a little,
yeah.
I'm guessing like a little nod, meaning pay attention.
Wow.
And then he woke up.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to think, is the dream about the dreamer or is it about someone else? And so, I mean, it could be his outlook on everything that's going on. So it could be a combination of both the things going on in the world and it just seems like maybe
One sec, Joey wanted to know when the dream was. It was October 14th of this year. So just a couple 2 weeks
October
ago.
14th. Yeah. So 15 days ago. So okay, so I don't have anything coming to me right away. So let me just kind of go back over it just a little bit. It's kind of odd that Biden is driving the limo. It's kind of like maybe he is driving this situation. Like maybe he's in charge of it or trying to be in charge of it in the direction of the way things are going. Maybe he's making a quick movement. The old wallet just makes me think about things that that has been taken away that maybe that are going to be returning, and that may be what Trump symbolizes as far as getting back maybe things that have been lost. But it may be that he's trying to get Trump to pay attention because they're going to pull a stunt. And I know I've heard about UFOs and stuff. It's like, don't believe it because they'll just make things up. There's a lot of things that can be made up to get your attention on something else. So it may be a last ditch effort to get our attention on something else besides, whatever. And he's getting Trump's attention or trying to get Trump to pay attention to this last ditch effort. And that's all I can think of. And I'm so glad John has made it back.
Did you get to hear it, John?
Can you hear us, John? No, maybe not.
He was perfect and not even frozen, right?
Yeah. So she said it's opposite than red tape. So that's interesting. It was blue tape.
Yeah.
a blue ball of tape. And old money. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's in this old wallet, so it could be referring to old money. Well, it could be a dream indicating, a direction to look at. That's all I can think of, is something that, maybe he's trying to get Trump's attention. And the thing that really stuck out is the guy on the radio talking about the extraterrestrial. Maybe there's just some kind of event going to happen that's going to try to distract and get our attention off of something, and we don't need to be fooled by it. And he's trying to let Trump know. There's probably a lot more to it. I wish we had John here or someone else that could join with us and kind of, give us what they're hearing and kind of bounce it off of each other. That always seems to help.
Right.
Especially when you're interpreting someone else's dream. What did you see? What did you think of it? Did you try to?
I really didn't. When he texted this to us, and I just kind of started, and on my phone to save it, and I told him, oh, you should probably call it in, and then I realized he wouldn't be able to because of the time. He's working, because the time in Arizona, is not conducive, and he's working like 12-hour days or whatever. So, I didn't really ever go back to it until all of a sudden it was like 20 to 6 today. And I'm like, oh, hey, should I read your dream, on Live Dreams? And he's like, yeah. So then it was just like this, rush to, look at it. So
did he say how it made him feel?
No, I didn't ask him that, but I was very curious about, with Joe Biden, being the driver. That seemed to really, intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So
it's like your son is in a hurry. It could be that, he's in a hurry to make sure that everything comes out the way he wants it to, like, not blue, but red. We have a lot going on and we need to be paying attention, and we don't need to be too distracted. So, that could be part of it. So, John, can you hear us now?
I can hear you, but I heard nothing of the dream at all.
Yes.
Do you want me to read it again?
It's very interesting, and I'm sure you'd probably hear something, but I didn't hear a whole lot. So
sure.
Okay, so it was on October 14th. This is my son Evan's dream. He lives here in Michigan, but he's working in Arizona. So like he couldn't call in because of that. And the dream, he was in Arizona when he had the dream. So I'm at my childhood home, which is the home we live in now, but he doesn't live here now. He's got his own apartment, and there's a limo outside that he needs to get into. Joe Biden is the driver. Trump is in the back seat. I'm rushing to get out of the house. I get in the back of the limo with Trump. Biden makes a quick movement and partially drives onto the grass. I reach into my sweatshirt pocket and find an old wallet is in there. I forgot to grab my current wallet because I was in a rush. The wallet has a blue rolled up ball of tape and cash. The radio was on, and the guy speaking mentions extraterrestrials. I look at Trump and gesture with my head, meaning, quote, pay attention. End of dream.
So tell me the first part. I got old wallet, but I didn't hear much before that.
Okay, so he's at the dream. He had the dream while he was in Arizona. He lives in Michigan, though. I'm at my childhood home, and there's a limo outside. I need to get into it. Joe Biden is the driver. Trump is in the back seat. I'm rushing to get out of the house. I get in the back of the limo with Trump. Biden makes a quick movement and partially drives on the grass. I reach into my sweatshirt pocket and find an old wallet. And then I believe you heard the rest.
Okay. Interesting. So what did you say, Lisa?
wow. So I was just thinking about Joe Biden is actually in charge or pretending to be in charge as driving the limo, and that um, I guess him getting in the back is more like he's getting in there with Trump, so he's on Trump's side, or he's with Trump. The old wallet made me think about old cash, like maybe things that have been taken from us are going to be given back. But then the guy on the radio bringing up the extraterrestrial and him making a notion to Trump to make sure Trump pays attention made me think that they're going to be trying to distract us and that we need to be keeping our focus um, on Trump and not the distractions that they're trying to. And then Joe Biden made a quick movement, so that makes me think that there's a last ditch effort to try to distract us or do something that's going to take our attention off of whatever it is they're trying to do. Maybe, I don't know, to keep it together, keep their blue tape together on our cash.
Yeah, that's interesting. The blue ball of tape and the cash. And the guy on the radio was talking about ETs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the childhood home is interesting because I think it represents maybe a simpler time. How old's your son?
24.
24. Well, born in 2000.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's I feel like that part's interesting. I also like the part of the old wallet. So some of the biggest things in your wallet besides your cash are your identity, right? And some states, I don't think you need that to vote anymore. I think in other states you do. In Ohio, I think you do. I had to show mine. But yeah, I do think there's he lives in Arizona right now, but he's from Michigan.
No, he lives in Michigan. He is just on assignment in Arizona for his job. So he kind of goes there for a couple weeks, comes home for a weekend, goes back. So like he's there currently now, and he's actually working, which is why he couldn't call it in. And he said I could call it in.
Well, Arizona is obviously an interesting state of which there's been much consternation related to their efforts in election integrity. But I just like the fact that, yeah, a couple of people mentioned it, the idea that Joe Biden is driving.
Yeah.
Could Joe Biden be the driving force to get Trump back into the presidential limo? Maybe, but I don't see. Was Joe Biden getting Trump into the limo, or was he just driving him?
Yeah. It sounds like he was just driving him, like Trump. Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting because there's been reports of a big schism in the Democratic Party related to Kamala and Biden, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a dog in the fight, so I don't really know or whatever. But again, I do think the idea of blue tape, they talk about red tape as being bureaucratic tape, but blue tape, representing obviously the blue party, the party of the Democrats. Ball of tape is usually stuck to itself is when you're done with it. I do think, obviously, being in the back of the limo is greater than driving the limo. I think driving the limo, in a dream context, can represent the idea of like being in charge of that particular world. As we say, it's Biden's world or Biden's time that we live in, or maybe we're just Biden time. But I do like the fact that he's in the back. I think the idea of the radio announcements represents the media, the idea of the media pulling out all the stops, including the aliens and every distraction that there is. Excuse me. is certainly possible. So I think that there's a lot here. I think this is the first time we've seen Biden and Trump in the same limo. So I think that's interesting. There's been other dreams about Biden um, on top of two donkeys that were leading a Conestoga wagon. He wasn't the driver, but he was riding one of the animals. So I think it's I think it's really interesting. The dream isn't real clear as to who wins the election, because that's what people really want to know, unless you take the sign of Trump being in the back as being a win, which is possible. Trump is on back, waiting his turn to be president again. I like
What do you think my son represents? Like,
Well, I think it's the next generation, first of all, the younger generation. I do like the fact that both Arizona and Michigan are tied up in his story because they're two huge swing states that were a part of the 2020 election. Um, I do think it's interesting that there's a subcontext there with being in his childhood home. And the limo being outside. I think it's interesting because I think Trump has been projected to win Michigan at this point, which I think is a surprise to a lot of people, but not necessarily. It is definitely, I like what Laurel says, your son's generation will definitely be affected. Um, but I think it also has to do with identity. It has to do with a couple of things. It has to do with position and it has to do with identity. There's a generational piece, excuse me, because he's in your home, he's in the childhood home. And there's also an identity piece that he found an old wallet in his sweatshirt pocket, assuming obviously it was his wallet. So then there's the position of the seats of authority. Somebody that's in the driver's seat tends to be driving, in particular, the destiny of whatever is being driven. However, I don't feel like Biden is in charge of the presidency. It certainly doesn't represent the nation, but it does represent, I believe, the context of being president in this era. I also think it's interesting that he's driving Trump, which, as others have alluded to, could be the idea that he's helping in some way, or he could help in some way. I think there's a lot of mystery to the dream still, but I think there's generational themes, there's identity themes, there's two presidents and themes of authority. But this is one of those dreams I feel like we need other dreams to kind of compare them to really get a good. It's hard to make a call just based on this one dream alone.
Okay.
So, but it's a very interesting dream. I like it.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell him to pay attention if he has more.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Sue. Always love having you guys on.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. You too. All right. Let's have Matthew. Hey, Matthew.
Hello.
Hey, Matthew.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
How about now?
There you go.
That better?
That's better.
Good. Well, hopefully everyone has a great day and keep on their toes this week.
That's right.
And next week, for that matter.
Yep.
Okay. Dream I had, I believe it was probably about a couple months ago. Not sure on the exact date anymore. I was coming out of the house and went into my backyard and I saw a stage that was very faded and old. It was just a stage that you would see inside a school, but it was on the outside and the curtains were faded they were open. And the woodwork was all faded out too. I was standing on the ground looking up into the stage. There was nobody else around, trying to get a sense of what could be going on. And for some reason, I had this inclination that we needed to close the curtains. So I got up on stage to do so. And when I pulled the rope to close it, it broke. So then we had to manually close the curtains on it. And I say we because there was another person on it, which, thinking back, I believe was my brother. We assisted each other in manually closing the stage curtains, and that was the end of the dream.
That's interesting. Did you say it was something like high school?
It looked like a high school stage that I could recall in school in a close town of mine. I was never on the stage. I was homeschooled up through college or up through high school, and then I got a degree in college.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I like the fact that it's at the home you live in now or your childhood home.
The home that I live in now.
Okay, so there's a now context, but it's in the backyard. So that represents something in the past. And then in the backyard is a stage that's faded and old. So it's something in the distant past. And I think it's interesting, the idea that nobody was on the stage, nobody was around, you're standing looking at the stage, but you just had the feeling that you needed to close the curtains. So closing the curtains obviously represents the end of an era or the end of an act, like a different time, or like Pam says, closing time.
Right.
So I think that's close the curtain is key. Yeah. And so there's something that
Yeah.
in a typical play, the close of the curtain announces either the end of the act or the end of the show. And I feel like there's been a show that the curtain has remained open on, that it hasn't been closed. The idea of I need to close it and then the rope breaks and then having to manually close it is like the idea of forcing a page to turn, in a sense. Manually closing the cage, closing the curtain in an unconventional way. It's a powerful symbol.
Well, what I was, mulling it over here for quite some time, was like, I was thinking of it on a political scale, that it's this old play, old show. It's done. It's been going on too long. All the actors have left. Let's close it. So it's kind of like wind up time. Like, this has been done for a long time.
Hey there.
I like what Faustino says. It's about past elections that were rigged. All the world's a stage. In America, our elections have been choreographed. And I think that that's the feeling that I got too, Matthew, was the idea that it was political, and the idea that there is an act or a show that is over or was supposed to change a long time ago, and somehow it didn't happen. And now the idea that we have to manually close it. But I wonder what the manually closing of the stage now means.
Right.
Mess. But I don't like it because it sounds like to manually close out an era means we have to do it ourselves. We vote. I think voting is like pulling the lever, or it's like pulling the rope. But if we pull the lever or the rope and the rope breaks, if the elections are broken, and it's clear that we've been compromised, what do? We got to manually close the curtain. Voting by hand. I like the way you guys think. Very gentle folk. Closing it by hand, I don't think of voting at all. I think of of George Washington time, you know. So that part I don't like, because we would like to believe that truth and justice will prevail and good things will happen, and all of that, and we certainly pray for that. But by the manual, that's interesting.
That's
What
another way to
manual is
look.
that? Is that the war manual?
Well, usually when I think of manual, I'm always thinking of the Constitution manual,
Yeah,
but I'm not familiar with the war manual at all. It's just way of
manually
yeah.
count the votes. It's interesting that nobody's on the stage. It's interesting that it's a play that's long been over and all the actors are gone. To me, what that talks about is roots. I don't think it's talking about the last election, because those players are still very active on the playing field or on the field of play. So I do think, like if it was about Trump is still on the stage, very, very clearly on the stage. This is about a stage that's been vacated, which I think it's talking about a root, and it might lead to something in your personal life, something in your past, which is what's right behind you in your backyard, meaning it's close to you, it's personal. Your backyard symbol doesn't necessarily mean the United States. Yeah, the Law of War Manual, which precedes the Constitution. That's what I was thinking of, Laurel. The people elected are just figurehead for the globalists. What is Trump? Is driving Trump? Is that Biden is driving us off its roots? Yeah. The system is broken, a different method. Yeah, and there's no one watching either. So what I think this represents is something that's long been done, but you feel the need to close the curtain. I actually think this is about you, Matthew. I think it's about something in your life. It's a present context. So it's something that you've become aware of or will become aware of very soon, in your immediate vicinity, in your backyard, in your family. And then realizing that the players are no longer there, that the act has been over, that there's no one watching anymore, but there's something that's been left undone. It sounds like a generational bloodline thing, like needing to free yourself of the curse of Freemasonry or something like that. But you feeling compelled to close the curtain and then having help in the person of your brother, I think is more of a family thing. I initially was feeling, and I do feel like there is a context that it could be political, but I feel like more of this is something that applies to you and perhaps you and your brother, something that you can close together, whether it was somebody in your bloodline that needed to be forgiven or somebody that's long since deceased, or an inheritance issue or something like that, that you and your brother can close, that the apparatus or system to make it automatically close is no longer functioning, but you can close it together. So does that make any sense? Does that resonate with you at all?
Slightly, not exactly sure. I know we've been dealing with generational curses in my family just in the at least in the past 15 years, we've been dealing with it and putting a lot of it to bed finally. And if the end is not near, it's sure close.
So I was hearing the first things I wrote down was closing the curtain. You do that after the show. So, I mean, the show is over. So everything John was saying at the end about it being something about the family. But I wrote down, I think it maybe is a family issue that needs to be dealt with, and that you and your brother will end the show, and you're going to need your brother's help to do it. And maybe whatever you tried before didn't work, but maybe now y'all have to do it manually and it'll work and it'll close it. That's what I was getting.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think you got to look for something that could be related directly to your family, something that would affect you and your brother. Could be something from the time when you were in high school. And it could be an offense. Likely it's an offense, or it's something, something he perceived as false, like play acting. I like that too. Yeah. Stages of growth is always done manually. The best manual is the word. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Take a look in your own backyard. Maybe talk to your brother. See if there's something from the time you were in high school that that could apply to you, and then figure out how to do it in a way that is not the typical way that you normally would. Normally, if there's an offense in a family, people forgive each other, but if people are deceased, they can't do that, and so it has to be done manually. You know.
No, that's a
Cool dream,
great
Matthew.
insight. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a blessed week.
All right, you too, man.
Me too.
All right. Well, that's an interesting dream.
Yeah, it's very cool.
All right, Karen.
Hi. I had this dream this morning, and there's a couple different parts to it, but I'm going to try to go through it quickly. The one, we were at like a fair that has rides, and we needed tickets to get on the ride. So I pulled out of my pocket 3 tickets, but they weren't tickets. They looked like waist up cutouts of like characters from the Addams Family. There was 2 that were.
Wait a minute. Start over.
Okay.
When you said Addams Family, I realized I wasn't on the train of thought that I'm like, wait a minute, what? I missed something. I missed a turn there.
We were at a fair, and I needed tickets that were in my pocket. We were going to go on a ride, so I had to pull them out to make sure I had 3 tickets, and there was 3 of them in there, but they weren't like regular tickets. They were like cut out characters of the Addams Family from the waist up.
Oh, okay.
2 of them were in all black in the Addams type family. I don't know exactly the characters, but one of them was in a black and white vertical striped shirt. And then I think the 2 that were black were alike. And then it changed, and we were walking up to a field, and on the other side of the road, there was a farm, and behind the farm was this huge fire. It was like all the silos and the large structures were all on fire. And there was people in every scene of the dream, there was just people everywhere, like shoulder to shoulder. And as we see the fire, I made a comment that no fire trucks had been called because they didn't call the fire department. And somebody said, he's a Democrat anyway. So then it changed, and we were farther up, and there was what looked like a white guy. He had a black guy by the arm, and he was pulling him towards the back of the crowd like he was going to fight him. Like it looked like a fight was going to break out first, and I yelled, no fighting, no fighting. And then he was taking him to the back. And then the white guy that looked like the white guy had grabbed a guy that was even bigger. He was this huge white guy. But he had this really weird little blue hat on his head. And the only thing I could think to describe it was remind me of like the blue hat on Chase from Paw Patrol. But it was clearly way too little. And then he put the black guy in a room. He went in behind him and he closed the door. It was an interior room and the door was all white. And I just yelled, no, really loud, like screamed it. And that was the end of the dream. I think that was about everything.
This is very clearly a Lisa dream.
Wow.
Take it away, Lisa.
How fortunate.
Yeah.
It's funny that we just had a fair right here close to home, and there was an actual shooting. So yeah, someone got shot, and but anyway, okay, well, let me, Karen, go back and kind of go back through it to make sure I heard it all correctly. So you were at a fair, you needed tickets for the rides, and you reached in your pocket and pulled out 3 tickets. They ended up being cutouts of Addams Family characters from the waist up. Some had on all black, and then one was all black and white vertical striped shirt. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's black and white. It's clear, I guess, black and white. then the scene changed. You were walking in a field. There was a farm, a huge fire. The silos were on fire, and there were people everywhere in both dreams. I mean, both scenes. Okay, so what stuck out to me was when you said there's no fire trucks, and he said he's a Democrat. Someone said he's a Democrat anyway. That just made me think this is all about the election.
That's
because
what I
he
wondered
pointed
too.
out Democrat, and then the white guy and black guy, it just made me think of attempts to make it all about race, creating a racial war. You were trying to stop it. Not sure about. You said there was a bigger white guy with a weird blue hat. It's maybe just the blue hat Democrats, what I think of, and not sure about the Paw Patrol. Maybe what comes to mind is just a show, a kid's show. Is putting on a show. It's not, anything that is to be worried or concerned about. When they went in the room, though, and the door was all white, when I think of white, I think of holiness and, I don't know. I don't know anything from that. You had 3 tickets. You go to a fair for enjoyment, although it's not always enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's like nasty stuff, nasty. Actually, the food, people go to because they love the food, but everything is so dirty there, and you smell bad smells and all of that. So, I'm not hearing anything on that.
Okay.
The main thing is it just seems like everything is chaotic, and that there's people everywhere, and it's related to the election. So maybe just chaos during the election. But again, it seems like there's maybe a theme. Maybe the last dream had 2 layers to it, related to, or the first dream, I'm sorry, Sue's dream, related to election stuff. So it seems like that's our theme tonight, and rightly so because of the election next week. But go ahead, John, if you have anything. I don't really have much on that.
Yeah, I think so. The fair is the show, but it also represents a show of justice. It's a play on words, a fair, right? I like what Monica said, prejudice. Fair, not admission for all types of evil. Police involved nominally as presence. Okay. I like the fact that access was a cutout of cartoons, which to me almost sounds like a kid's birthday party invitation kind of a thing. Yeah, access to the entertainment was through actors or characters. I do like what Nicole said and what Erica acknowledged. Oh, look at Susan. She's going all biblical on us. The cutout characters of Adam's family, 2 that were black, and then the road and the barn and the huge fire with the silos, I think is interesting. I feel like it's distraction. I feel like the silos burning is the idea of the inheritance or the future, the harvest literally going up in flames. But I feel like part of it is distraction. And then what's really happening is trying to pit one against the other. And a lot of times, particularly in political election years, there's a lot of manufactured division. And I think race is one of the biggest ways that they do that, through the media, through the methods of distraction, through even leaders or politicians. I wouldn't say leaders, but politicians. And so the idea of, the chairs are burned. That's interesting. John Adams. Oh, that's pretty deep. John Adams and Samuel Adams, right? They were brothers, and they were definitely part of the American Revolution. Lord of the Rings. Yeah. There's a lot here. There's a lot here. I feel like the whole fight thing with the white guy, the bigger white guy, the black guy, the white room, the black guy in the white room, the blue hat. I feel like a lot of this is just a level of distraction. It's this is what happens when people want to manipulate, is they try to create an enemy and then they try to paint you into the picture. And so you feel like you're being attacked, or you feel like you're helpless in some way. And so you have to do something. There's a call to action. Give to my campaign, get out and vote. You know, Trump's coming against me, so you need to fund my campaign, or, you know, Biden's doing this, and so you need to help me here. And it's usually around the idea of an unfairness or an injustice. It's actually sometimes difficult, and usually difficult, to raise money if your party is considered the overwhelming leader or you're in the majority. It's always the underdog in the revolution side. You know, it's always us against them. And I think it's funny because now in every election, everybody tries to take that side, even the incumbents. If like the Democrats are the incumbents, which they are, they try to, we got to stop Trump. And it's like the whole world, and Trump's the outsider. Trump's the person that his party is not in charge currently. Yeah, the race issue is a distraction. It's so long and tiring. Like the same stuff they use, the same political stuff, you know, like when one party gets up and says, all they want to do is give tax breaks to the rich. Like they've been saying that for 50 years. I don't know that it's ever even been true. It's just the brush they paint with. Oh, they're going to take Medicare away and they're going to harm seniors. That's never been true. It's never even been considered. But it's just the same lies, and it's the same divisions, and it's remixes on television and video commercials. And it's just to upset people and to create an infighting. And it really should be brother against brother. So I think it's the idea to really watch. You know, there's the idea of fairness and justice, which is lawfare, the idea of access, but access is in our pockets, which means money. You know, you can vote with your money kind of a thing. And then there's the character cutouts that end up being the tickets. And then there's this the distraction of the fire. Then there's the racial issues. Then there's the fighting. There's the blue hat. And then there's the white room. The whole idea of white room is the idea of manipulating or propagandizing or radicalizing mental patients. You know, so it's those things. 3 seconds. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's I think the actionable intelligence in this dream in particular is to avoid the distraction. The fair itself is the distraction. But so is everything else around it. You know, like what's really important. The idea that we have access to fairness, but it's within our own pockets. Could the pockets mean your ID? Could it mean the idea of a vote? Even if, you know, they talk about the better of the two evils, but it's actually the better of the two monsters, right? Because it's the Addams family. So I think it's fascinating what's happening there. But it's a pretty interesting dream. It feels like a lot of political overtones, but fascinating. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on, Karen. Okay. All right. Diana.
Yeah.
How are you?
Great.
Hey,
I finally solved all my technical issues so I could actually share a dream with you guys. I'm so excited.
Good deal. We're glad you made it on.
Amen. I'm just trying to find where it is in my dream journal. I think this is it. Yes, this was from October 13th. I was one of my part-time jobs is pet sitting, and I was over at a friend's house pet sitting, and I actually got to take a nap, which never, ever, ever happens. But so it was October 13th on a Sunday between 2 and 3 p.m. And in this dream, I see a figure walking up to me. I think it was like my guardian angel or Jesus, but all I see is a figure approaching me with their hand out, and they've got two like medals, like pins, like lapel pins, in their hands. And I skip up there really excited, and I say, I know what these are. And I grab one, and it's a pink heart. No, it's a pink cross. And the other pin is a red heart. I put the pink cross on my right lapel, and then I wake up.
What does the pink cross mean to you?
I think it's the love and the intimacy that I have with my Savior.
Okay.
And I got this impression from the dream that when I said I know what this is, I was I had crossed a threshold. I had earned a badge. Something had occurred that was a milestone, a crossroads or something.
Okay. Interesting. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
Wow, I think it's just self-explanatory. You just had a visitation, and the Lord's just showing you how pleased He is with you, giving you these medals. And do you happen to know the milestone or the cross? You don't have to tell me, but do you know what they might be? What that's referring to?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I have gone through years and years and years of adversity, especially since 2020, and the whole world got turned upside down. But I'm still in a rebuilding period of my life.
It seems like it's something. I mean, the lapel pins are something you wear, so it's kind of like, it makes me think of a mantle. It's like you've earned this badge. Now He's going to be using you, maybe to spread the news of the cross and to give His heart to others. But whatever it is, it's like maybe you're maturing. You've got you've moved up.
Yeah, that's the way I was thinking.
For your good deeds, or whatever it is that you were able to cross over the milestone. And that's what I get. It just seems like an awesome dream, and I would love to have it. Congratulations.
When you said pins, I thought you meant pens, like my tongue is the pen of a ready writer. And so I thought initially it was a writing assignment, like you had a book or something you were supposed to do. And one was the pink cross or the red heart. The red heart would be, I feel like, more serious and more of a deep emotional journey, whereas the pink cross is more about like redemption and friendship and intimacy more than like love and issues of the heart. Does any of that resonate?
Absolutely. And I think you're right too about it being a pen, because I know that the Lord has also been like, you should write more. I write lyrics to songs and poems, and I'm a singer,
That's awesome.
so to me and he loves the play on words. So why wouldn't it be both?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I heard when you said pens. I thought it was pens, but keep writing, write more. That's your actionable intelligence. And in fact, think on those themes. And I feel like they're interchangeable. Like you could pick up one day, the red heart one day, or the pink cross, and just begin to, okay, God, speak to me about the pink cross. What does that mean? What does that look like? and then just write from that place.
Right. You know, it's funny because I had another dream like just before this one, like on a different night, but where I walked up to like 3 buglers and I sang Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy because I know all that song, and you know it's a wartime song. And so this dream kind of made me feel like it was a medal for you know, going through all the warfare successfully.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Awesome.
cool. Well, it's a really cool dream. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Yes, very cool.
Awesome. Well, guys, I got to cut it here tonight. So we're just doing an hour. Thank you for all that shared your dreams. We appreciate your bravery and your courage to come on and share your dream or risk sharing your dream. We're going to start doing different formats related to live dreams. And so part of that will probably be doing shorter shows, like 1 hour or 1.5 hour, just because there's so much that's happening right now. I have an hour and a half or 2 hours that I teach also on Tuesday. So a lot of times it's like 4 hours of straight nonstop for me. And so the 2 hours is something that we're going to probably wind down a little bit. But we love the opportunity. We had some new faces on tonight. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Jetta. Thank you, Susan. Yes, good job, Lisa. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we love the opportunity to work with you guys, for you guys to chime in as you did so good tonight. I love the comments that you all have and how you all hear from the Holy Spirit. So the idea with live dreams is to provoke you into a deeper level of dream interpretation, to want you to hear from God at a deeper level, and to also have a community and also have a community where you can kind of bounce your ideas off of or practice hearing the voice of God and have it confirmed through a whole throng of people that are into dream interpretation as well. So thank you all. Thank you, Lisa, for being a part tonight. It was a pleasure to host with you.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Yes, as did I.
Yes.
And until we see you next time, keep dreaming.